Hey there everyone, Dr. Beth Westy here. I wanted to pop on and talk about stress, why stress makes you gain weight, and why it can be so frustrating to try and get rid of. If you're just trying to address the weight loss and you're not taking into account the hormone that stress is, which is cortisol, then you're really missing a big piece of the puzzle. And I have seen firsthand women spin their wheels for so long, not being able to move forward because they're not addressing hormones and they're not addressing specifically stress. So when we talk about stress and like why this happens, all this stuff, I kind of always want to go clinically down that road and say this is exactly the mechanism in the body and blah, 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 and where stress gets released. And I was like, sometimes that's a little overwhelming and can stress people out too. Hi, Sheila. So instead, I'm just going to talk about some of these other interesting facts. Things like this. 39% of people report overeating or eating unhealthy food due to stress. Yeah. Now that's actually a statistic from the American Psychological Association. Yeah, so they would know, right? They would know. And what is stress? Stress can be toxins, trauma, or thoughts. This is if you guys aren't familiar with this type of a thing, this is like a foundation in chiropractic. Toxins, trauma, thoughts, and how that induces stress on the body and what that does, the negative effects of it, everything else. The other thing that's really important for women to understand is that the female body reacts differently to stress than the male body does, and the female body does better responding to different stress tactics than the male body. So if you've done a work seminar where they talk about, do this, that, or the other, and you're like, that doesn't seem to work for me at all. Yeah, it might not be for women. It might be for men. So this is one of the things I feel like I in the 12-week program that I have where I work with women, one-on-one and really dive into tactics, for helping women get better, get healthier, stay healthier, that type of thing. This is one piece and component that I work with just about everybody on because it is that big of a deal. It really, really is. So what I find for women is that it's not that you're not trying. It's not that you're not looking at things. It's not that you don't want to make the change. It's just that there are so many factors fighting against you in your body that you're like, I can't even begin. And then anytime I make one step in the right direction, it feels like it's not the right step. And so it backfires and it just kind of blows up in my face. There's another thing too that's a very big correlation with the women that I work with is that in their recent history, and it could be within the past couple of months and it could be within the past few years, there's some women it's been even longer than that. They've gone through a major toxin exposure, some type of trauma, right? Physical trauma, illness, injuries, something like that. Or thoughts, even something like, the death of a close one, where it's very emotionally difficult to handle. And that adds to whatever they else had going on. So much so it's like the last straw. Then there it goes from there. And now you really can't, make progress from where you were stuck. So the tactics that women are trying are things that they're trying to do, but actually then usually stress the body out more, like cutting calories, cutting nutrients. All that stuff stresses the body out more, which means you're working against yourself essentially. There's a few other things. So this is, I'm just going to read this from my book, The Female Fat Solution, which is on Amazon. I have a whole section in here on stress because it is that important and how to handle it. And women are just not aware of this. So if you've read it, great. But I'm going to read it because it's that important when we're looking at stress and everything. Like I even put a little marker in where I was going to talk about this. So this is on page 139. And it talks about the University of Kentucky study found that dieters who learned stress management tactics were more successful at losing weight than dieters who didn't. That's just a general statement, right? Like you're thinking, well, duh, that seems to make sense. So another thing to look at, if you are, trying to make a nutritional change, trying to make a health change, and you're not addressing the stress and the impact of stress in your life, you're missing a big key component. And this is a big key component that can keep you from getting your results and keep you from maintaining results that you already worked so hard for. If you've done something, or if you're like, I did this thing and it was really great, but the stress and yeah, you're going to backslide so hard and fast. And then be stuck all over again and have to start from scratch with all that stress. Such good news, right? Another piece here that, again, is at the bottom of the page, I wanted to highlight here because, again, it's so important for women to understand this, that you're not, I talk about this with women, that, if you're trying something and you're trying to compare yourself to somebody else, I have this analogy of, everybody's starting on this diet together and they're all at the starting line, right? And you're not at the starting line. You're not even on the same track. Like, you're in the parking lot. You're in the parking lot still driving around. Sometimes you're at a different field. It's that bad, right? And you have to do things to get your body to a point where you're even at the same starting line. So there's a lot of women that I work with that oftentimes they're like, yes, I want to lose weight. That's my goal, which is great. But they have so much stuff going on and so much stress in their life, in their body, that's not a place that you can start in a healthy way to get to and maintain a good result. It's you have to start at a point, get your body healthy, functioning, so that you get to that starting line. And then once you're at that starting line, it's a very different ball game. I'm using a lot of different sport analogies here. Track, baseball, all those things, right? But the biggest thing here is when you're looking at women with an already increased BMI, so say like a little heavier side of healthy, and they experienced a significant increase in cortisol secretion under stress. That means if you are already struggling with your weight and you have stress in your life, then when you do have more of any type of stressor, it's going to cause your body to kick out even more cortisol, which, guess what, doesn't help you in your situation. It literally piles on more. So if you think of stress as like rocks in a backpack, and you're like, oh, well, Susie over there, she's got stress too, but if Susie is on the thinner side, her body's just not going to produce as much cortisol as you. So she might get 3 rocks in her backpack. She might get 3 added rocks. You might get 6. How's that for fair? It's not. It's not fair. Ugh. But it's just the way the body physiology works, because that's the protective mechanism that the female body has, and it is fat storing, and it does a really good job of it. So you have to work to get that reversed. So that's really that's coming like straight from the book. This is straight from research. I find all this research and I put it in here to really open your mind and your eyes to the fact that even if you're trying these things, that this worked really well for Susie down the street. I don't know why I keep saying Susie, by the way. I don't have a Susie that lives down the street from me. I don't. Maybe I do. Maybe I have a new neighbor I don't know about. Anyway, but Susie over there, she did this thing and it was so great for her. Again, she may have a totally different stress level than you, and her body's not reacting like yours. She gets 3 rocks in her backpack, you get 6 or more or whatever, right? And that's the impact of stress in your life. So, so then that means that the increase in cortisol and secretion under stress, they were more vulnerable to increases in body weight than women with lower BMIs. Yeah, so that's it. So you're already a bit overweight and you get stressed and you eat unhealthy foods, right? You're more likely to gain weight than a thin person who does the same thing. Now Susie's going to call you and ask why you keep talking about her. Maybe she is. Maybe she'll stop over tomorrow and be like, yo, stop talking about me on your videos. And be like, Susie, great to meet you. Let's have coffee. That's funny. So here's the thing. So you're stressed and you're trying to force yourself to eat clean, eat healthy, right? You're trying to like make this happen. I chat with so many women that they accomplish so many things and they follow things that are so rigid, so strict through sheer willpower and grit. And they're like, if I just keep following this, if I just keep forcing myself to do this plan, this restrictive 1,200 calories a day. Don't do 1,200 calories a day. Oh my God, that's so little. And it'll happen. Well, one, that's setting you up for failure, because if you already have like an increased body weight and stuff, you get stressed out. It's going to lead to more cortisol. You end up behind again, right? I just went over that. So that's in the book here. 2, that's causing, so you're getting more stress in your body, right? That snowballs the effect. What cortisol then does is it's going to take some more of your muscle, turn it into, sugars and store it in your fat cells for you because yay, that's what it likes to do. So you're decreasing your muscle tissue, increasing your storage, all the things that you don't want to have happen. And that has all the other negative impact on your body and can really mess with some of your other hormones in a very negative way. 3, you can't mentally keep that up for a sustained period of time. It is just too mentally taxing. It really, really is. That's why this happens for people. That's why they, binge, right? You binge and you dive into, the refrigerator or something. And it's not because you're doing something bad, right? Your body just gets to a point where it can't keep it up anymore. And your body will crave sugars and carbs and all that other stuff because your brain runs off of that. That's what it needs. That's literally what it needs. So you're not craving it because these are the foods that are going to make you fat, right? Susie down the street can eat that stuff and not gain weight from it because her stress levels aren't, impacting her the same way, right? Susie. I do have a neighbor named Susie. But for you, it's causing this whole cascade of other problems. So, like I said, if you are doing some type of nutrition program that's not addressing stress, you're missing a huge piece of it. You really, really are. You're really missing a large component that is going to help move you in a positive direction and keep you there. So that's the one thing. So in the 12-week program that I have, it's a meal plan, right? The simple way I explain it is meal plan, grocery list. It takes you through protein pacing, carb cycling, intermittent fasting, all these fancy things. It's tailored and specifically personalized for each person so that as you go through it, we're really tweaking things to make sure it's specifically worked for your body and how it functions. And then I work with each person one-on-one to make sure you're progressing through it. Super duper, right? But again, if your body is a lot higher in stress, and again, you're not addressing that, you can have the best personal trainer in the world. You can have the best workouts. You can eat the cleanest, most paleo, most whatever diet ever. And if you're not addressing that stress, you're going to stay stuck. It is what it is. Sherry, you got 111 grams of protein today. Woo! Yeah, lady. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. That's amazing. I love it. So these are important things to look at. So again, I have a lot of resources for women. I do, I have my book. I'm still working on my next book. It's coming along. There are some parts of it that are just harder for me to write. But there's a ton of content here. And I have my podcast. I've had some amazing podcast interviews recently. I just had one come out about thyroid. I interviewed a gal who works with women with thyroid issues specifically. Tons of great information in there. So if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, do that. So whenever a new episode drops, you'll be the first to hear it. I also have my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Beth Westy, which is all of these videos. So I've done more videos on some other tactics of dealing with stress and how to manage that. If you're looking for one of those, search it there. And then there's my program that, I really focus a lot on, getting women to the next level with everything. So, yes, Meredith. Yep. I'll message you with info. But it's really designed for women. And I work with women with stress issues. I work with women with all these different hormonal issues, and it's all in conjunction. Because again, if you're doing something and eating clean, that's great. But if you're not making progress and thinking, gosh, what am I doing wrong? Right? It's not you, right? It's the stress response in your body that's just like crashing down on you and causing this whole other cascade. So it's worse for you if you have a lot of stress. It really, really is. And again, if you're not addressing that, you're not going to go anywhere. So, and this can be for a lot of different reasons. This isn't necessarily one thing. Like I said, there's all these other reasons that people get under stress, but it's really important to address. It's really important for women to acknowledge. And it's not fun to spin your wheels and feel like you aren't getting anywhere. But again, it's not your fault, right? With the right tactics, you can move through this. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but you notice a huge shift and change in your body, in your energy, in just how you feel. And then it can change how your body reacts to stress. This is one of my favorite things of taking women through, is that they'll get through their day and they're like, you know what? I had this thing happen at work, and normally I get super stressed out. And this time, instead of like totally freaking out and feeling a tension in my body all day, it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, huge progress, right? Because results happen from there. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. I will put a link below if you aren't comfortable posting a question, or if you want to message me a question. You can always schedule a call with me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have, and then we can go from there, and I can figure out what the best next step for you to be would be. All right, I will see you guys later.